Morning.
Good. Well, I'm super excited to be here this morning. As Bruce shared, I'm Austin, and I'm from Sioux Falls. And back in Sioux Falls, I oversee our entire youth ministry back there. And I'm honored that Pastor Jeff would allow me to be here to pour into you. And so I just want to begin with prayer because as we talked as a team, there's never a bad time to pray. And so if you'll pray with me. Jesus, we just thank you that you brought us here. Whether we wandered in or whether we plan to be here, God, that you're already here and that you're with us. So just pray as I speak here this morning, God, let me not speak of my words, but speak yours. Silence any words that come from myself and only speak to the hearts of these people. So I pray for this message and for your word to go forth. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm super excited. So if you will, please turn with me to 1 Corinthians 13. And I do apologize a couple things. One, I'm a squirrely person. And I'll try to not move. I'll try to stay a little bit here. But I'm super excited for this series because I love this series. I've been able to hear what you guys have already talked about the last couple of weeks. And we're just going to continue it because I think it's so powerful. Because I believe everyone wants success. I don't know of anyone in this life who is okay with failure, who wants failure. Some people settle for it. But deep down, we all want success. We all want something to matter. And we're going to look at God's word here today about what is a key to success, but what is sometimes the biggest focus that we need that many people misunderstand. Because I think the problems we have, we don't really know what success really is. We think we do. And even in my short time on earth, something I've learned is everyone has a definition for success, and everyone wants you to embrace their definition. But for me, and for I hope all of us in here this morning, that we don't want to know what someone else says. We want to know what God says about success. Because God's had some pretty good success in his time frame, and I would hope we want to join that success. And so, if you're not a follower of Jesus here this morning, I just want to say that welcome home. We're so glad you're here. Maybe you've had Jesus and maybe you've walked away, but we're just glad you're here. But we all know too that there's something deep down in all of our lives that wants something more. And for a non-believer, it's not just success. But for those of you who maybe say a believer this morning, we understand there's something more we want in this life. We don't want to just get by. We don't want just to exist. We want to make a difference. We want to have an impact. And so I'm excited for tonight, this morning, and what this message is going to share. So if you'll read with me, we're going to look at 1 Corinthians 13. We're going to read verses 1 through 3 right now. It says, "If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans, and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I had to the poor, and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing." See, I think understanding what's the point of life, and what's the point of understanding why we're here, is also understand what's our focus in life. And one of the cool things that celebrates Huge On is your life groups. And I love life groups. I have one. It stands for Living in Fellowship Every Day. Because I need people around me to sometimes knock me across the head to remind me to stop chasing the things of this world, stop chasing or to settle, but to keep going after what God has for success. And so if you're not in a life group, I'm just telling you, we got people here with the orange name badges, after service that love to get you connected. You got that Connect card. Connect with it. Get around people who just want to make your life better, want to encourage you. And we'll talk a little bit more about life groups later. We can't do life alone. That's one of the things the devil loves to do, is to get us to feel like we can do it alone. And remind this key series, or the key verse in this series, is Psalms 39:4. And it says, "Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be." See, I think sometimes we think that this life is so long. I mean, I can attest to that there's no way when I think I'll be 26, I'll never be 26, and here I am. I have a dad who's over 60, and I'm like, I'll never be 60, and I'm sure in a matter of no time I'll be there. And for some of you, you've had that, you've experienced it, you're like, man, it's a quick trip. Life is fast, and we need to remember that our time is so brief on this earth, and what's our focus? And so I wanted you to finish this statement. Maybe don't say it out loud, but I write this in your notes. My greatest aim in life is blank. If you were to say that my greatest aim, my greatest purpose, my greatest focus in life, what would it be? What would your word be? See, whatever your word, your phrase, it influences every single decision you make. Every single decision. It doesn't matter. See, if your word is the word fun, anytime you have two options, you will always put the one that you think is more fun, even at the sacrifice of others. You'd rather pick and keep your options open, so whenever you have that word or the thing that's more fun, I'll drop everything and do that. If your word is security, that means every decision that you see in your life will be understanding what's safer, what takes the littlest risk or no risk. If your greatest aim is comfort, you will always choose the easiest road, and you will find the way that can just get by. But as I already shared this morning, I don't think God wants us to just get by. I think God has something amazing for us. And I want us to look at this. And so, before we jump to 1 Corinthians 13 again, one chapter over, 1 Corinthians 14, verse 1, it says, make love your greatest aim. Will you say that with me? Make love your greatest aim. I read this article once asking these kids, how do they view adults in love? And here's just a few options. Glenn, age 7, if falling in love is anything like learning how to spell, I don't want to do it. It takes way too long. We got Kenny, age 7. Oh, it gives me a headache to think about that stuff. I'm just a kid. I don't need that kind of trouble. Regina, age 10. I'm not rushing into love. I'm finding 4th grade hard enough. Dave, age 8. Love will find you, even if you're trying to hide from it. Trust me, I've been trying to hide from it since I was 5, but this one girl keeps finding me. Manuel, age 8. I think you're supposed to get shot by an arrow or something, but I don't think the rest of it's supposed to be that painful. And as goofy as it is, I think sometimes they have some cool words. And one thing I've learned, I got 2 nieces, and one's 3 and 1, and I'm learning they remind me, because they see so clearly, sometimes the stupidity of the things I say, I do. And I think some of this, man, we can understand that. Some of us can understand the pain. See, there's pain in love. There's pain in losing the people you love. There's pain in seeing marriages broken and fall apart. I know I wish I could share about my story the last year or two, and my family's gone through some pretty serious stuff and seen love just fall off. We know love can be painful. But what I think is God didn't purpose or plan for it to be the way that so many of us experienced. So many of us are worried to ever truly love someone because we're worried about the hurt. See, we fantasize love. We make it seem like it's all about us. We put the target in the wrong place. And I had a pastor say, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And I think often that's what we do. We don't see love how God intended, and yet that's why I think we experience so much pain. And so this morning, I'm sorry, but my mind's all over the place. But this morning, let's look at where we're supposed to focus. Where's our target in it? See, God said if you want true success in your life, you need to learn how to love and who to love. And so we're going to look at 5 reasons why love should be our greatest aim. And so let's jump into this first one. Without love, everything I say is ineffective. Repeat that with me. Without it, everything I say is ineffective. It's that age-old quote, right? Actions speak louder than words. It's not about just saying certain things, but it's about doing things. Everything you say is ineffective if you don't truly love someone. I heard a pastor once say you have 2 tongues in life. The one in your mouth and the one in your shoe. The one in your mouth says a lot, promises a lot, but the one in your shoe determines what you do. It's really who you are. Where do you go? Love isn't about words, it's about action. My wife knows that I could tell her I love her all the time, but she knows when I love her is when I do things for her, when I care for her, when I show her that. It's not about words. Words are so often spoken wrongly. And that's why we go to 1 Corinthians 13:1. It says, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I'm not a musical person, but one thing I do know is when a cymbal is by itself, it's kind of obnoxious. I've seen kids with their new drum set, and they don't want to play the drums, they just want to hit the cymbal. It's awful, at least for me, and maybe I just need prayer, that's okay. But I can't stand just a cymbal. And but that's what it is. You're just obnoxious, you're all over the place if you don't have love. And Paul is another one, says, if I could craft words beyond people understanding, if I could speak so eloquent you'd think you're in heaven. But if I don't have love, I'm just a waste. Paul's image here, if you know about this, I'm kind of a Bible nerd, and so I love these things, but he's talking about this to the Corinthians, and in that time, there's Greek auditoriums, there's big auditoriums where they do the plays, the showings, where they have meetings, and it was so big they couldn't speak. They didn't have these cool microphones and these speakers. They had to use this thing, and I was going to get a picture, and I couldn't find the right one, but they'd have almost like it looks like kind of a phonograph shell, and they would speak into it that would carry their voice, that would expand so it could reach to all the people in the crowd. And Paul's saying in this if you don't have love, you're just this vessel. There's nothing special in and of itself. But if you let love speak through you, you're able to speak to many people and to entertain them and to encourage them. See, without God, we're just another piece just here. Without love, we're just something that's just existing. Without love, we're nothing. Again, actions speak louder than words. So who are you showing this week that you love them? Our second one here this morning is that without it, everything I know is incomplete. You'll say that with me. Without it, everything I know is incomplete. Without love, what's the point? 1 Corinthians 13:2. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the ministries and knowledge, but don't have love, I'm nothing. See, what I don't understand, and this is where I'll get life group, is I grew up a lot of times in my old church back home before I came to Celebrate. I was a part of a lot of Bible studies. Bible studies are okay, but a lot of times we make Bible studies the focus. Life groups are not about learning the Bible, although it's important, but life groups are about learning the Bible in order to be the Bible. It's not about just existing and getting more knowledge, because knowledge without action is useless. I know a lot of people who are really, really smart, but they are a pain to be around. You don't want to be around them because they're so arrogant, they just know everything. My brother's kind of like that. I love him, but he's that guy who knows more about my dad's era than his. We played Trivial Pursuit all the time, and he beat my dad all the time, which is really humbling for my dad. But it's not fun to be around a person who just knows everything just to know it. But to be around someone who knows it, but then is able to express it and show it. See, your life group is not a Bible study. It's about learning how to be the Bible. See, when we get to heaven, God won't go, wow, it was amazing how much you learned about the Bible. That's cool. He's going to say, I love that you got in my word, that you learned it. Who'd you share that with? Who'd you love? Who'd you care about? Who'd you lay your life down for? It's not about just getting into heaven. It's about understanding that we need to love those around us. And so I have a question. If you had a toothache and you go to the dentist, would you rather do this? And I'd love to hear from you. Would you rather have a history lesson on a toothbrush, or would you like to have them have the pain stop? Who would want to learn about the toothbrush? Please, nobody. Who would want the pain to stop? Thank you very much. I had a root canal like a year ago or 2 years ago. I tell you, it was not, I don't care anything about the root canal. Just do it so I can get it done and it's painful. But how often does some of us walk into this room and they're just hurting, we just want the pain to stop? I don't know what you walked in with. I don't know what some of your school, your work is like, your family situations. I don't know. But I think sometimes we walk in and we just want the pain to stop. And yet sometimes we walk in, and I'm guilty of it, and I want to give everybody a 16-point lesson on the book of Habakkuk. And they just want to come here to hear God cares about them, that there's a hope. And sometimes I need to remind myself that I'm not here to drill knowledge down their throats, but I'm here to speak life and hope into them. And that's the whole point of why we gather, is to speak hope, to speak life. It's the line, and this is one of my favorite ones, and maybe this is something to write down, it's the phrase I live by. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I'll say that again. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's so important. People want to know that you care about them. I work in the youth ministry, and trust me, kids don't care what you know if they don't think you care about them. And so I know I have to learn that. And so who are you showing that you care more about them than you can speak life into them? Our third one here this morning is that without love, everything I believe is insufficient. Verse 2 also says that if I have the faith that can move mountains but don't have love, I'm nothing. See, what I think is sometimes so sad is that we think Christianity is just about believing. We think going to church is just about believing. We think Jesus is impressed with us just believing. And I wonder if this is one of the reasons why the devil has been so good at what he does. Because he's got us to think that believing is enough. And if you really read the Bible, the devil believes, demons believe, and they shudder. They're terrified. Just believing is like being lukewarm. It's just existing. The demons believe. See, following Jesus isn't a belief system, it's a lifestyle. Do something. What are we doing with it? People want to be a part of something that matters, that changes lives, not just something that they're supposed to know. So are you living it, or are you just believing it? Our fourth one here is that without it, everything I give is insignificant. Verse 3, it says, if I give all that I possess to the poor, but do not have love, I gain nothing. So a question, why do we give? Or another question, why don't we give? I think sometimes why we don't give is we're fearful. We're fearful that the bills not get paid. We're fearful that I don't know where it's going. We're fearful of it's out of my control. Maybe the reason why we do give is, well, we're kind of guilty because the pastor talks about it and we probably should, and we do it out of guilt. Or, sadly, what's running rampant in America and the world is this prosperity gospel, that somehow if you give, that God owes it to you to give you 10 times more. Now, God promises to bless you, but that doesn't always mean financially. But sometimes we give, really not wanting to give, but what we can get back. And see, if we understand, according to the Bible, that love is the reason why we should give, nothing more. No obligation outside of love. We should give because we know that other people need it, and that God's blessed us with whatever we have. Because we live in America, wherever we're at, we're blessed. We're lucky. We're lucky to be able to have this. And like I said, I don't know all the situations, and I know there's tough. I grew up with 6 siblings and 2 parents that were teachers, and in a small town, and I get their struggles. Man, we're so lucky. I've seen other countries, and I've seen areas even around here that are very tough, but we're lucky to have. See, we give because God first gave and He loved. In John 3:16 it says, for God so loved that He gave. And if we want to emulate, we want to be like God, we want to grow and become more like Him, then we should start doing things like Him. See, maybe we don't give because we don't really trust Him. I know for me, that was my biggest issue. I didn't know. God, I know you're kind of cool and you're pretty strong and you can do some cool stuff, but God, I just don't know if you should have my money. And it took me a long time. Thankfully, I had the life group, but I had people around me who encouraged me. It's not about a number. It's about your heart. Do you give because you trust God, or do you hold on to it because you think that you have more control? Here's a quote that I absolutely love. You can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. Man, you can give without loving, but you can't love without giving. Remember, actions speak louder than words. Our last point here is that without it, without love, everything I accomplish is inadequate. Everything I accomplish is inadequate. Verse 3 says, too, that if I give my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. See, at Celebrate Youth back in Sioux Falls, came to a point, I've been there for nearly 4 years now, and launched our West Campus, and now we're back to one. And I got to a point where I was talented enough to create an environment to get by. I was talented enough and gifted enough to have a team that we were able to have people come and students come and hang out and love it. But what I found so easy to welcome them, I realized that I was just there to entertain. And I got to a point, and I remember bringing our staff together and said, what's the point? What's our purpose? Why are we here? And I'm not saying we didn't have a purpose, but I found that we so lost track of it. I didn't want to just entertain. I wanted to engage. I wanted students to know that their lives mattered, that I cared about them, and that they can do crazy things right here and right now. They don't have to wait. And so we were able to accomplish certain things and have hundreds of students come on a Wednesday night. But we were just entertaining, but we wanted more. And I think one of God's favorite words is more. We didn't want to just entertain them, we wanted to give an experience of God. See, we have kind of our core values, and I'm just going to give you a little lesson on those core values. Our first one is that every student matters. There's 20,000 approximately junior high and senior high students in the area of Sioux Falls. I think that every student matters, and I think that the two things, they have the right to know about Jesus, and I have the responsibility to do that. That I have not only they have the right to know, because everyone has the right to know about Jesus, but I have the responsibility to take it to them. And so I can't just sit back. I can't just be okay and expect them to come here. I have to find ways. How can I make that every student that walks in Yankton, does every person matter? I know your hearts. I know your leaders. I know your pastor, Jeff. Every person matters. Amen. Everyone does. Doesn't matter your background, your story, your struggles right now. Every person matters. And the other one is that we believe that life change happens best through relationships. That it's easy to just throw in some knowledge and help out, but I don't want to just have it where I know someone shallow. I want to know, well, relationships with everything. I know I'll respond better if my wife says something to me than if a random person comes up and says things to me. Although I might be a little hesitant because she probably knew that when we got married. But it's not anything more than understanding that relationships are the key to changing lives. It's not just about hanging out and connecting, but it's about knowing someone deeply. And so we believe that our small group leaders, our adult volunteers, they are the instruments to doing that. If we have 200 students, we had 240 people last week. I can't know 240 people super well and pour into them discipling. So my job is I equip our volunteers to be the pastor, to create the relationships, to not just point to me, but point to God. I hope no one even thinks about me on a Wednesday when we meet. But I want relationship to be most important. I want them to understand that they don't come here, our volunteers don't come from me. I've made that very clear. You guys can let me down all day long. You will not let any of these students down. Because they matter more than anything. You don't come here to please the staff. You come here to minister and pour into the lives of these students. And that's why you're leaders. That's why the leaders here, the orange badges, they don't come here because they want to look good. They want to come here because they love you. And they want to pour everything into you to show that you matter. And so the last one is that we want our students to become leaders. I don't want to have students who just come in for 6-7 years and then leave, because I was in a great youth group. It was great hanging out. But man, I saw a lot of my friends graduate high school and walk away from the church. And I think part of the reason is because many youth ministries don't do what they're supposed to. We don't build leaders, we just entertain them and hope it sticks. I want to build leaders that whether they're called to ministry, I had a dream that I'd like to see 300 students in my time there to go in full-time ministry. But that's not just the church. I want to build leaders so if they go and are farmers, if they're doctors, if they're teachers, janitors, I don't care where they go, that they are leaders and they are equipped and ready to go. I don't want them to be a follower, an exister. I want them to change it, because leaders change the world. I want to share a story about the 1992 Olympics, which is crazy because that was the year I was born, so I apologize for anybody who's laughing at how young I am. But there's a story of this British superstar named Derek Redmond. Does anybody know that name? He was about to run the 400 meter. In 1988, he was in Seoul at the Olympics and had to back out due to an Achilles heel injury. He had to undergo 5 surgeries to repair that injury. Over the next 3 years, he had 3 more. He worked and trained for 4 years, all to get back to the 1992 Olympics, which is pretty insane. Here's his words at the race. The gun sounded. I got into my stride. Running around the first turn, I was feeling comfortable. Then I heard a popping sound. I kept running for another 2, maybe 3 strides, and then I felt the pain. I thought I'd been shot, but then I realized the agony. I had pulled my hamstring. The pain was excruciating, like someone shoving a hot knife into the back of my knee and twisting it. I grabbed my leg and hit the deck. I couldn't believe this was happening. After all this training, this is where I am. I looked around to see where the rest of the field was, and they only had 100 meters left. I actually remember thinking, if I can get up, I can still catch them. But the pain was too intense. I got up and I hobbled for about another 50 meters, and I knew that was it. See, if you know the story, if you've seen the video, there was a winner that day. It wasn't Derek. It wasn't any of the other racers. There was a third player in the game that no one saw. He was in the stands. And when Derek hit the floor, he rushed out, went through security, ran down to Derek, put his arms around him, and helped him up. It was Derek's dad. He picked up his son, and he said, "Son, you don't have to finish." Derek turned to him and said, "We didn't come here." Dad said, "All right." Put his arms around him. And slowly, 65,000 people in attendance got to watch as father and son hobbled down the track in excruciating pain after excruciating step. Derek's dad just kept whispering in his ear, "You're always a champion to me. You're always a champion to me." I think that's what God wants to do for us, because some of us are walking with a limp. Some of us are maybe hurt. And God's not sitting there disappointed in you. He loves you. He's walking, saying, "You're a champion. I got you. You're gifted. You're made in my image. You're lovely. You're perfect." See, without love, everything I accomplish is inadequate. Without love, Derek would have been laying there on the floor, embarrassed. Trophies are going to end up in the trash, but love is what's going to remain forever. A little bit about my last year or so. My dad got a pretty nasty divorce about a year ago. And my wife, my sister, my brother, and I, we'd go back home, back into Minnesota, little Wilmer, Minnesota. We were cleaning out his house, and I found pictures and clothes and all that. But I found boxes and boxes of trophies. My dad was a phenomenal athlete. He played in the minor leagues, baseball, all these trophies. But it came to a point where he had these boxes, he was just throwing them in the dumpster. My dad taught me on the way on that trophies weren't that impressive. But I saw that day and it reminded me that I can't live for the approval of man right now. Because just like him, there's going to be a day where my trophies are going to throw it away and no one's going to care. I want to live for something that matters more than just being remembered here on earth. I want to be remembered by God, and that He welcomes me into heaven. He welcomed me in by knowing I gave everything I had. So the question is, why do we love? If love's the secret, number one secret to success, then why do we love? Why do we do it? Let me tell you this, there's going to be a test. And apologize if you're not a teacher and you thought school was over, but there's going to be a test here this morning. It's not going to be your bank account. It's not going to be the accomplishments you've had. It's not going to be the titles you've earned. Matthew 25, Jesus says He separates us by not only how we love, but who we love. Because He said, love those like me was when I was naked, you clothed me. When I was sick, you visited me. When I was hungry, you gave me food. It wasn't about what they did. It's not about how they did it, but who they did it for. There's two keys to love. The two keys are choice and action. Say that with me. The two keys are choice and action. Love doesn't run away. So we talk about John 3:16, that God so loved that He gave. He loved as a choice, and then He gave as an action. What are you doing as a choice and an action here this morning? So here's the test. So if you look at verses, 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 8. This is a common wedding passage, so you might be quite familiar with it, but let's read 4 through 8. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable. It keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Just for a second, I do apologize about that. See, life is never about what happens around you, but what happens within you. It's not about the circumstances, it's about what happens in your life and your heart. So here's the test. Take that passage, verses 4 through 7, and where it says love or it says it, put your name. So for me, here's my test. Austin is patient. Austin is kind. Austin does not envy. Austin does not boast. Austin is not proud. Austin does not dishonor others. Austin is not self-seeking. Austin is not easily angered. Austin keeps no record of wrongs. Austin does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Austin always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Austin never fails. So how'd you do? Did you pass? I'll be honest, and my wife can attest, I don't ever pass that test. I can't do it myself. Man, I might be patient one day, but I'm probably going to be not so great the next day. But the key is not necessarily your name, it's putting Jesus' name in there. And Jesus tells us that through him we can do all things. We can be patient and kind. Through love, we can have this. I want to close with this story. It's one of the stories that almost makes me cry every time. Dr. E.V. Hill was one of the greatest black American preachers the world has ever heard. He pastored 42 years in the same church, Mount Zion Missionary Baptist in Los Angeles. He was never afraid to challenge injustice. He spoke with the truth in love, but he spoke truth. Because of that, he was often threatened beyond anything you can imagine. On one particular weekend, after something he had said in a sermon, he received a bomb threat. He had been part of those before. He'd actually seen some of the bombs. That same week, he came home early one day, more early than normal, and he noticed that his car was gone. Very concerned, he thought someone must have stolen it, and they're rigging it, or they're doing something to it. But he decided he was just going to sit down on his front steps and just wait. 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, about 30 minutes go by, and he sees his wife pull up in the car. Instantly said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" She too knew about all the problems and the threats he faced. But here's what she said. "I got to thinking, honey, this community needs you more than it needs me. If they're going to rig your car to be bombed, I want to be the one in it, not you." Evie said in that moment, "I always knew my wife loved me, but until then it was just realized what love really was." Jesus says that there's no greater love than this, that you would lay down your life. So I ask you this morning, who are you laying down your life for? Who are you showing how much you care and love about them? Because in this life, without love, without real love, we're nothing. Jesus laid his life down for us. This is what the church can be. This is where the Celebrate Church of Yankton can blow up and be amazing, is when we take love seriously and we love people no matter where they come from. Jesus welcomed us in when we didn't deserve it. Love can change all things. Without love, everything I say is ineffective. Everything I know is incomplete. Everything I believe is insufficient. Everything I give is insignificant. And everything I accomplish is inadequate. Would you pray with me? Jesus, we thank you that you brought us here this morning. God, again, I pray that anything that I shared from my own flesh, that you silence here this morning. God, let your words go forth and let us speak truth. Truth's not always comfortable. But thank you that you're going to form us and shape us and mold us into who you want us to be. So God, I just pray for Yankton here this morning, God, that you continue to open these doors, expand their territory. Continue to move powerfully through these people. And I can't wait for the next time we have to see all the new things that you're doing. God, remind us that without love, we're nothing. Without you, we're nothing. Let that be our focus and let us be our aim here in life. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen.